Do you find yourself constantly translating in your head from your native language to English before you speak? It's a common problem, and it's what's holding back your fluency. But don't worry. Today, I'm going to share 4 powerful strategies that will train your brain to think directly in English, so you can speak fluently and confidently. This isn't about magic. It's about practice, and I'll show you exactly what to do. Let's start with the first and simplest step. You need to start thinking in English during your daily routine. I'm talking about those moments when your mind is on autopilot, like when you're washing the dishes, walking to work, or making coffee. Instead of letting your mind wander in your native language, start making simple observations in English. For example, this coffee smells good. Or the sky is very blue today. Or I need to remember to buy milk. These are low-pressure situations. There's no one to judge you. The goal is just to get your brain accustomed to forming thoughts in English, no matter how basic they are. Once you're comfortable with that internal monologue, it's time for step 2. Start speaking those thoughts out loud. Yes, you'll be talking to yourself, and it might feel a little strange at first, but this is a crucial step. When you're alone at home or in your car, just say what you're thinking. Okay, now I am folding my laundry. This blue shirt is my favorite. Speaking aloud connects the thought process to the physical act of speaking, building that muscle memory. You're bridging the gap between thinking and speaking in English. Now for step 3, let's make it a bit more challenging and structured. We're going to use external prompts to get you talking. A fantastic tool for this is a random question generator online. Just search for one, and it will give you endless questions like, what's your favorite childhood memory? Or, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Your task is to answer these questions out loud in English for about 1 to 2 minutes each. Don't worry about perfect grammar. Just focus on getting your ideas out. Another great exercise is to find random images online. A picture of a busy city street, a beautiful landscape, or a strange piece of art. Then, describe everything you see in the picture out loud. Talk about the colors, the people, what they might be doing, and the overall feeling of the image. This trains you to find the English words for what you see right on the spot. Our final strategy, step 4, is to create a daily summary. At the end of each day, or even just after a few hours, take 5 to 10 minutes to talk about what happened. You can do this out loud or even record a voice memo on your phone. Summarize the events of your day in English. For example, today I woke up late. I had a meeting at 10, which went really well. For lunch, I tried a new sandwich shop. This exercise forces you to recall events and articulate them in English, solidifying your ability to process your life through the language. It's like keeping a verbal diary. The key to all of these strategies is consistency. You have to commit to it. Immerse yourself in English as much as possible. It won't happen overnight, but you need to be patient with yourself. If you practice these exercises every single day, I promise you will start to see a real difference. You'll stop translating and start thinking and speaking directly in English. Most people notice a significant change within just 7 to 30 days of consistent practice. So, which strategy are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on how to master English. See you in the next video.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are We're really diving into a challenge that I think hits home for so many of you.
It's a big one.
It is. It's for anyone who spent years, literally years, studying English. You know, you've got the apps, you've memorized lists of vocabulary, you can probably even explain grammar rules better than some native speaker.
Right, you've done all the homework.
Exactly. And yet, when the moment comes, when you open your mouth to actually speak, you hit this wall, this agonizing mental block.
And that block, it actually has a name. It's what we call the translation lag. And it's not just a feeling, it's a deeply ingrained cognitive habit.
A habit, so it's something the brain is doing automatically.
It is. It's the brain's default setting. It takes in a thought or generates one in your native language first, and then it has to, run this whole process. It translates it, reorganizes the words to fit English grammar.
And then it finally lets you speak.
Then it finally signals your mouth to move. And that whole chain of events takes time.
And the consequences of that lag, I mean, they're so frustratingly obvious when you're in a conversation. It's those long, painful pauses.
Those pauses, yeah, the hesitation, all the ums and that fill the space while you're basically waiting for that internal translator to catch up.
It's like your brain is buffering.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It's buffering. And we see this leading to really intense feelings of stress and anxiety, especially when you're talking to someone in real time.
I can imagine, because you sound hesitant, and that makes you feel less confident.
It crushes your confidence. You know you're articulate in your own language, but in English, you feel like you can't show it. It's all because your fluency is stuck behind this one single bottleneck.
It's like having a Ferrari, but there's a governor on the engine that only lets you go 5 miles an hour.
That's it, exactly. And the sources we've pulled together for this deep dive, they're basically the mechanic's toolkit to remove that governor.
Okay, so what's the mission today?
The mission is pretty straightforward. We're going to unpack four proven methods that you can apply immediately, and they're all completely free.
And these are for retraining your brain.
Retraining your brain to completely bypass that translation step and just think and speak directly in English. This is about changing a mental habit, not about studying more grammar.
I love that. And what kind of timeline are we talking about? Because this sounds like a huge undertaking.
Well, that's the exciting part. This isn't some year-long project. We're talking about micro practices, things you can weave into the life you already have.
Okay.
And based on the research, if you start implementing these things today, you should see, really see, noticeable, tangible results in your speed and your fluency within a week.
Within 7 days.
7 days. This is highly, highly achievable.
All right, let's get into the mechanics of it then. Let's start with method number 1, which, surprisingly, seemed to involve using the most boring parts of your day. You're calling it harnessing the mundane.
Yes. And what's so fascinating about this is the concept of untapped mental real estate.
Untapped mental real estate. What do you mean by that?
Well, our sources define these routine activities, tasks that don't require a lot of conscious, high-level thinking, as the perfect training ground for new neural pathways.
Okay, so give me an example.
Think about it this way. When you're doing something complex, like trying to solve a tough math problem or write an important work email, your brain is already working at high capacity.
Right, it's totally focused.
Exactly. And if you try to force yourself to think in English on top of that, you just create cognitive overload. You can't do both well.
But when you're doing something like, say, brushing your teeth or walking the dog.
Or making coffee, right? Your brain is basically on autopilot. The source material points to examples like taking a shower, doing your makeup or hair, your commute to work, if you're not the one driving, of course.
Or even just chores like washing the dishes or making the bed.
Those are the golden moments. Method number 1 is all about consciously deciding to occupy that autopilot space with English thoughts. You're literally building muscle memory for how to think in a new language.
And the key here, which the sources really stress, is that the content of these thoughts has to start simple.
It has to. This is where so many learners go wrong. They try to jump straight to debating politics in their head.
Which is way too complex.
Way too complex. The goal at first is not grammatical perfection. It's not about using fancy vocabulary. It's about sheer volume and consistency of simple observations. You have to prioritize the act of generating English over the act of perfecting it.
Okay, so let's make this really concrete. The example from the sources, brushing your teeth. Let's walk through that. How does it actually work?
Okay, so you're standing in your bathroom.
Yeah.
Your task is to internally narrate everything you're doing and seeing as it happens. A little monologue in your head.
So I walk up to the sink, and my internal monologue is,
I am walking to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You pick up the toothpaste tube. I am picking up the toothpaste. You unscrew the cap. I'm taking the cap off the tube.
It sounds almost childishly simple.
It is. And that's the point. Now I am squeezing the paste onto the brush. It feels absurd, but what you're doing is forcing your brain to connect a physical action directly to English vocabulary. There's no room for your native language to jump in.
You're cutting out the middleman.
You're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah.
And then you can immediately start to expand on it. Look at the objects around you.
Okay, so I'm looking at my toothbrush.
And you think, my toothbrush is very old. I should really buy a new toothbrush soon. Or you look at the toothpaste. The toothpaste smells minty. I like the blue color.
I wonder where I bought this brand. Just simple observations.
Simple observations. The conversation itself is boring, and that's okay. The point isn't to be interesting. The point is to practice.
Okay, let me ask a question here for our listeners, because I can just hear people thinking, this sounds great, but the moment I try this, my brain is just going to snap right back into my native language.
Yeah.
How do you fight that?
That's a brilliant question, and it's a critical one. That snapback is going to happen. It will happen, because that old translation pathway is the default. It's a superhighway your brain has used for decades.
So what do you do when you catch yourself doing it?
The sources suggest a kind of mental reset technique. The moment you catch yourself translating, you stop, and you just start labeling things out loud if you can.
Labeling things.
Yeah. So you're in the bathroom, you catch yourself thinking in your native language, you immediately reset and say in your head, toothpaste, toothpaste tube, white sink. I see the white sink.
Ah, so you're forcing the vocabulary first.
You're forcing the vocabulary, and then you build a simple sentence from there. The sink looks clean today. By aggressively labeling the environment, you basically hijack the process and force it back onto the English track.
You're short-circuiting the old habit. I like that. So let's talk about leveling up. Once you get comfort with these simple narrations, how do you make it more complex without, falling back into translation?
This is the next stage of the workout. You take one of those simple statements, like our example, my toothbrush is old, and you intentionally stretch it. You play with it.
How do you mean play with it?
The sources suggest challenging yourself with different verb tenses or hypothetical situations. It's a deliberate exercise.
Okay, so instead of just, my toothbrush is old, which is the present tense.
You might think, how long have I been using this toothbrush? I've been using it for too long, maybe 3 months. Now you're forcing yourself to use the present perfect continuous.
Right. Or you could jump into the future. If I don't buy a new toothbrush this weekend, my teeth won't be as clean next week.
Exactly. Or even a past hypothetical. If I had dropped the toothbrush on the floor, I would have needed to wash it.
I see the genius in this now. You're not trying to invent some deep philosophical thought. You're taking a boring everyday object and just applying the full range of English grammar to it.
It's a cognitive workout disguised as a simple bathroom observation. That's all it is.
And how much time should you dedicate to this?
The recommendation is a minimum of 5 to 20 minutes a day. And that 20 minutes, it doesn't have to be all at once. It can be spread out.
So 5 minutes in the shower, maybe 10 on the bus to work, another 5 while you're folding laundry later.
Exactly. You're just accumulating those minutes of pure, untainted English thought. And again, the mantra here is volume over perfection, consistency over complexity. That is how you build the foundation and create those new automatic pathways.
So this foundational practice of internal processing is what sets us up for the next step. Because thinking in your head is one thing, but the physical act of speaking, that's a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
It is a completely distinct skill set. That silent narration is fantastic for, organizing your thoughts, for practicing structure. But the moment you open your mouth, you're engaging motor skills, breath control.
And there's that psychological barrier too, the fear of making a mistake.
A huge psychological barrier of self-editing. So many learners find that even if they can think pretty well in English, the second they try to say the words out loud, that translation lag comes roaring back.
Which brings us to what is probably the biggest hurdle for so many of our listeners. They say, I really want to practice speaking, but I live in a country where nobody speaks English. I have no one to talk to.
Right. And they also feel embarrassed just talking to themselves out loud.
We'll get to the embarrassment part in a second, but that first problem, the lack of a partner, is where method number 2 comes in with a really brilliant tool.
Yes. The random question generator.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. You just go to your favorite search engine, you type in random question generator, and you'll find tons of free websites that do just this one thing.
Okay, but why is a random question from a website more effective than me just picking a topic myself? Like, why can't I just decide to talk about my breakfast?
Because when you pick your own topic, it's comfortable. It's predictable. It gives your brain time to pre-plan, to start translating, to find the right vocabulary, to edit yourself before you even start talking.
You're taking the easy way out.
You are. The random question generator, on the other hand, it introduces novelty. It introduces surprise. It puts you under a little bit of healthy pressure.
And it asks these open-ended questions, right? Not just yes or no.
Exactly. Things like, what fictional character would you most want to have dinner with? Or, if you could instantly learn any skill, what would it be and why?
Okay. So you have the website open, the question appears. What is the single most important rule for this exercise?
The rule is non-negotiable. The second that question appears on your screen, you must open your mouth and start speaking immediately.
No pausing.
No pausing to think, no composing the perfect first sentence in your head, instant output.
That sounds terrifying.
It is, at first. And here's the other crucial part, the priority shift. While you are speaking for that minute, you have to turn off your internal critic. Mute the editor in your head.
So don't worry about grammar.
Do not focus on finding the perfect word or getting the grammar right or even your pronunciation. The single sole objective for that minute is flow. It is output. It is velocity. Just get the words out no matter how messy they are.
Okay, but then how does this messy output actually lead to any improvement? It sounds like I'm just practicing my mistakes.
Because you separate the practice from the analysis. You have to set a strict goal and then have a delayed analysis phase.
So what's the goal?
The sources all recommend you aim to speak for 1 full minute on that topic. No more, no less. And the best way to do this is to use a voice recorder app on your phone.
The recording. That's clever.
Every modern phone have one. Or you can just set a 1-minute timer. The recording is key because it adds a little bit of accountability. It removes the temptation to just stop when you run out of things to say.
Right. If you know you're recording for a minute, you're forced to keep talking, even if you're just rambling or repeating yourself until that timer goes off.
Exactly. You are training the engine of your speech to just run without sputtering and stopping. And then, only after that minute is over, after the pressure is off, that's when you engage your critical mind.
So once the timer dings, you stop and you listen back to the recording. What am I listening for?
This is where you put on your teacher hat. You listen back calmly, and you try to identify maybe the 3 most significant areas for improvement.
For example?
For instance, you might notice, oh, I used the simple past tense there, but I really should have used the present perfect. Or, I kept pausing because I couldn't remember the word for entrepreneur. You just make a mental or written note of those specific points.
And the important step isn't just noticing the mistake, it's correcting it, right?
That's the loop. You don't just observe it, you immediately pause the recording and restate the sentence correctly out loud. You're separating the 2 functions. Fluency, which is fast output, from accuracy, which is thoughtful correction.
Because if you try to do both at the same time...
You fail at both.
Yeah.
You stop the flow, you reinforce the habit of pausing, and the translation lag wins. By splitting them, you train for speed first, and then you train for accuracy second.
And this connects so perfectly back to method number 1. If I've been doing my silent narration for 20 minutes on my commute,
Yes.
that's 20 minutes of warming up my brain, getting the vocabulary and the sentence structures ready to go. So when that random question hits me, I'm not starting from a completely cold engine.
That's absolutely right. So yeah, internal thinking is like preparing all the ingredients. And the speaking exercise is testing how quickly you can assemble the dish under pressure.
And the time commitment for this is so small.
It's tiny. The recommendation is just this 2 or 3 minute cycle. 1 minute of speaking, 1 or 2 minutes of reviewing. And you do that maybe 3 times a day.
So less than 10 minutes a day in total.
Less than 10 minutes. But if you do that consistently for 30 days, you'll have completed 90 sessions of forced high-speed English output. The sources promise, really impressive gains in confidence and a huge drop in your reliance on translation.
You're moving from that quiet, mundane internal thought to a really structured, high-pressure output. That makes a lot of sense.
And that leads us nicely into method number 3, which offers a slightly different kind of structured practice. This one is especially good for visual learners.
Okay, this is the one about describing images.
Exactly. And I really like this one because it gives your brain a concrete anchor to work from. It leverages visual input, which for many people is less stressful than having to generate a whole argument from scratch, like with the random questions.
And you can use it in 2 ways, right?
You can. It can be used interchangeably with the question generator for speaking practice, or, as we talked about, it's a perfect thing to do silently when you have downtime.
So where do you get the images? You don't need like special photo books for this.
No, not at all. Accessibility is everything. The sources recommend two super simple ways. First, just use Google Images. Type in any random simple noun: cat, bicycle, coffee shop, and just pick one of the first images you see.
Simple enough.
Or, for more complex images, you can use a free stock photo website. The big ones are Pexels or Unsplash. They're full of really high-quality, interesting photos. You can just go to the homepage and pick any picture that catches your eye.
So once you've got the image in front of you, the practice isn't just about labeling things, is it? It's deeper than that.
It has to be. You're not just saying, I see a man, I see a tree. You're developing a descriptive strategy. You're forcing yourself to be a kind of mental tour guide for the image, which makes you use prepositions, dynamic verbs, and a variety of adjectives.
So there's a system to it.
There should be. A good strategy is to start with the people in the photo. How do they look? What are they wearing?
Yeah.
What emotions do they seem to be showing?
Okay, people first, then what?
Then you move to the background. What's the setting? Is it inside or outside? What's the weather like? What kind of architecture do you see? And then finally, you describe the action. What are the people or the objects in the photo actually doing?
Let's use an example. Say we have a picture of a man on a park bench. The basic description is just man on a bench. How do we elevate that?
You start connecting the elements with more complex structures. So instead of man on a bench, you might say, the man wearing a navy blue jacket is sitting on a wooden bench underneath a large green oak tree.
You're adding details and prepositions.
And this is where that complexity escalation we talked about in method 1 comes right back in. You can push yourself to add more adjectives.
Okay, so take that sentence and make it more complex.
The very tall man wearing a faded navy blue jacket is sitting on a weathered wooden bench underneath a large, ancient-looking green oak tree. You're forcing your brain to search for a richer vocabulary.
I love that. And then the sources talk about a really fun part of this method, which comes after the description, the speculation part.
Yeah. Yes. This is where the real fluency practice kicks in, because speculation forces you to use modal verbs and inferential language, which, absolutely essential for natural social conversation.
So once you've described all the visible facts, you challenge yourself to guess the story behind the image.
Right. Why is this scene happening? Let's take that example we saw of the man kneeling in front of the woman.
Okay, so the facts are, a man is kneeling, he's holding a small box.
Right. So the first, most obvious speculation might be, he must be proposing to her. He looks a little nervous, and that box looks like a ring box.
So you're using must be, which shows a high degree of certainty.
Exactly. But then you challenge your own assumption. You look for other clues and introduce alternatives. This is what forces you to use more complex and nuanced language.
So I might look closer and see his shoes are muddy.
Right. And you think, wait a minute. He might have tripped on the uneven ground. Perhaps the woman is helping him get up after he fell.
Or they could have been looking for a lost wedding ring and they just found it.
Perfect. The moment you start using phrases like might have been, could be, perhaps he is, you're practicing that high-level grammar that intermediate learners find so hard to use spontaneously in a real conversation. You're not just labeling anymore, you're building narratives.
And just like the other methods, the flexibility is key here. You can do this silently on your phone, on the train, just scrolling through images and running through the whole process in your head.
Description, action, speculation, all of it.
Or you can do it at home as a dedicated speaking practice, record yourself and analyze it later. It adapts to whatever situation you're in.
Exactly. It's a really versatile tool.
Okay, so we've gone from silent narration in our daily routines to spontaneous speaking with random questions, and now to this guided visual description. That brings us to method number 4, which seems to pull all of these skills together.
It does. Method number 4 is the daily summary. And this activity is so powerful because it has this dual benefit.
It's not just for language practice.
No, the sources really emphasize its value for personal development too. When you do a daily summary, you're engaging in intentional reflection. You're thinking about your day, which is a key habit for personal growth. And we're just harnessing that existing cognitive process for English practice.
Right, because preparing a summary forces you to do so many things. You have to organize events, think about how you felt, evaluate what went well and what didn't.
Exactly. You're naturally asking yourself these reflective questions. What was I proud of today? What did I learn? What was the hardest part of my day?
And just like the other methods, the format here is flexible depending on where you are.
It is. If you're in a public place, let's say you're sitting in a coffee shop waiting for a friend, you do the summary internally. It's silent thought practice. You just mentally review the day's events.
But if you're in a private space, like at home or alone in your car, you switch gears.
You switch to speaking the summary out loud. And ideally, yes, you record this self-talk. This lets you combine that reflective nature of the summary with the critical after-the-fact analysis that we talked about in Method 2.
Okay, so what should the summary actually contain? Is it just a rambling story of your day?
You can do that, but the sources provide a much more effective structured format, a structure that brilliantly ensures you use a wide variety of English grammar.
It forces you to move beyond just the simple past tense.
It does. It forces you to use past tense, present perfect, and even future and modal verbs.
So let's break down that structure. What are the components?
So you should aim to cover a few key points. First, the best and worst parts of your day. This forces you to use reflective and emotional vocabulary.
Okay, best and worst parts.
Second, 3 things you are grateful for. Again, more emotional language. Third, 3 things you are proud of. This one often requires the present perfect tense, like, today I have accomplished this.
I see. And what's the last part?
And this one is critical. 3 things you want to improve or focus on tomorrow. And this is what forces you into the future. Tense and modal verbs.
That structure is a linguistic superpower.
It really is. When you talk about what happened earlier today, you're naturally using the simple past. When you talk about what you're proud of, you might use the present perfect. And when you start talking about tomorrow, you're using phrases like, I must remember to do this, or I want to focus on that.
You're naturally pulling from the entire grammatical toolkit without even thinking about it as a grammar exercise.
It's designed to eliminate that common problem of just relying on the simple present and simple past for everything. It forces dynamic thinking.
And what about timing? Because I can see people thinking, my evenings are crazy, I can't add another thing at the end of the day.
And that's a huge point. Flexibility with timing is crucial. If you try to force this at 10 p.m. when you're exhausted, you'll just burn out and stop doing it.
So the summary doesn't have to be a summary of the whole day done at night?
Not at all. You can pivot. You can use your lunch break, for instance, to summarize just the morning. How was your commute? What did you get done in the first few hours of work?
Or you could do a really targeted summary. Like if you had a difficult meeting, you could just summarize that one event.
Exactly. And ask yourself more complex questions like, how could I have phrased that point differently? Or what did my boss say that made me feel that way? You're using it to process a specific event.
And if you're really committed, you could even do it multiple times a day, a morning summary at lunch and an evening summary before bed.
You could. The core principle is always the same. The more consistent, strategic practice you get, the faster you will see the results.
Okay, so these 4 methods, the mundane tasks, the random questions, the images, and the summary, these are the core tools.
They are the mechanical tools, yes, but tools are only as good as the context you use them in. Which brings us to our 2 final but really critical bonus tips.
Yeah.
And these are all about your environment and your mindset.
Bonus tip number 1 is about your environment. Actively surround yourself in English. This isn't just passive advice, is it? It's an actionable challenge.
It's a challenge to make English the default background noise of your life. The whole idea is that your brain absorbs language much more effectively when it's just constantly swimming in it, even when you're not actively practicing.
So every day, you should be asking yourself, how can I make my environment a little bit more English today?
That's the question. And the steps are so simple and completely free. You start with your tech.
Change the language settings.
On your phone, your computer, your tablet, everything. Change it to English. Suddenly, every notification, every menu option, every error message becomes a tiny, forced moment of English practice.
A micro interaction.
Exactly. Then you move to your passive consumption. Listen to music in English,
Yeah.
and more importantly, watch English TV shows or movies.
And the sources say to use English subtitles, right? Not subtitles in your native language.
Yes, that's a key distinction. English audio with English subtitles. This helps you connect the sounds you're hearing with the words on the screen. You start to absorb the natural rhythm and cadence of conversation.
And then there's the physical change, the one about labeling your environment.
I love this one. You just choose one room to start with, maybe the kitchen, and you get some sticky notes and you label everything in English. Refrigerator, spoon, coffee mug, cabinet.
So every time you reach for a coffee mug, your eye catches that label.
And it reinforces the English word without you having to translate it from your native language first. All this constant low-level exposure, it helps your brain reclassify English. It moves it from being a foreign subject you study to being a required tool for navigating your day.
That makes a huge difference. Okay, that's the environment. Now for bonus tip number 2, which the sources say is, without a doubt, the most important element for success.
It is. And it's simply this: be patient.
This addresses the psychology of it all.
It does. You are trying to retrain a cognitive habit that your brain has been using for years, maybe even decades. You cannot expect a magical overnight transformation.
So when you try that brushing teeth monologue tonight for the first time, it's going to feel hard.
It might feel really difficult. You'll feel a lot of mental resistance. That resistance is normal. It's just the old familiar pathway fighting back.
But the key is to understand the timeline of the results, because progress isn't just one straight line up.
It's not. The source material is very clear on this. You will see results in 7 days. You will see more progress in 14 days. And you will see significant measurable results in 30 days.
Let's talk about why that is. What's happening in those first 7 days?
In that first week, you are mostly just conquering the resistance. You're building the habit. You're establishing the discipline to just show up and do it every day.
And by day 14?
By day 14, the cognitive load starts to go down. The path is getting a little smoother. It doesn't feel quite as hard to start that internal monologue or to hit record on your phone.
And then by day 30, the compounding effect kicks in.
That's the magic. The small improvement you made in week 1, plus the increased speed from week 2, plus the new vocabulary you picked up in week 3. It all adds up to this huge overall improvement that often really surprises people.
You can look back at that first recording you made with the random question generator and you won't even recognize yourself.
It's the compounding interest of language learning. So we really want you to hold on to that long-term vision. Just imagine for a second if you commit to these 4 simple free activities for 90 straight days.
3 months of the silent thinking, the speaking, the image descriptions, the summaries.
After 3 months of consistently forcing your brain to bypass that translation filter, that lag will be a shadow of what it once was. It might even be gone completely. But it takes patience, and it takes trust in the process.
Okay, so let's just quickly synthesize this whole deep dive for everyone. We started by identifying the core problem.
The translation lag, and the anxiety and lack of confidence it causes. And then we laid out the 4 mechanical solutions to fix it.
Right. Method 1 was harnessing the mundane. Using your routine, boring activities for silent narration, starting simple, and then deliberately making it more complex.
Method 2 was transitioning to speech. Using a random question generator for immediate high-speed output, focusing on flow first, and then analyzing for accuracy after.
Method 3 was the guided approach of describing images, using visual cues for either silent or spoken practice, forcing you to use rich descriptive language, and then speculate about the story.
And Method 4, reflecting and synthesizing with the daily summary. Using that structured format to naturally practice a whole range of grammar past, present perfect, and future all while doing valuable self-reflection.
And all of that is supported by the 2 big bonus tips. 1, make your environment more English with your text settings and physical labels.
And 2, and most importantly, practice patience. Understand the 7, 14, and 30-day timelines and trust in that cumulative power.
The promise here is really clear. You can break the translation habit. You really can. And it can start today.
It has to start with immediate action.
So we'll leave you with this one final provocative thought. It builds on this idea of consistency and routine. If forcing yourself to narrate a boring activity like brushing your teeth, a habit you already do without thinking, if that can unlock fluency by building new pathways in English,
then what other tiny mental habit are you already practicing every single day in your native language that you could just flip to English right now?
think about it. That split-second thought you have when you realize you're late. Or the quick mental note that you need to check your email. Those are the moments. Those instantaneous, high-frequency thoughts are the perfect place to start.
Choose one of the 4 methods we talked about today. Just one. And try it. Begin practicing right now.
Go deep, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you then.